It is day 11 in the trial in the death of Ahmaud Arbery. The attorneys in the courtroom spending the day in a charging conference where they go over the wording they will present to the jury when they give them charging documents after closing arguments that could begin Monday. They will use these documents to make their verdicts. Joining us is ABC News correspondent Alex Presha, who has been outside that courtroom since day one of our coverage. Trial attorney also CK Hoffler joining us as well. CK, I want you to weigh in, please, on this process as we've seen it develop this afternoon.
Absolutely. Well, they're coming towards the end of the charging conference. They've been working very diligently all day. The prosecution has won some points. The defense has also won some points. There's going to be additional briefs submitted on issues over the weekend. The judge has said he'll be available and open to doing that. He's pretty much sticking to his guns with respect to previous rulings, as we would expect. And then hopefully by Monday morning, before closing arguments, this will all be tied up with a nice bow, and we will have the charging jury instructions, the instructions for the jury, and closing arguments will begin as planned Monday morning.
And just moments ago, Alex, we saw Judge Walmsley going back and forth with defense attorney Kevin Goff, who is bringing another motion for mistrial to the judge, and followed it up with some pretty incendiary comments this morning.
Well, and then you heard the prosecution basically rebuff him, saying that, look, you know, he's complained about the presence outside the courtroom. He's complained about the presence inside the courtroom from civil rights leaders such as Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton. But this was something that he himself created with his own incendiary remarks last week. First misidentifying Jesse Jackson and then saying that they should have a limit on black pastors in the courthouse, and then drawing analogies to, you know, well, what if there were, you know, a whole bunch of folks dressed up as Colonel Sanders with white masks, and how would the Arbery family then feel about that? And I will say, Kenneth, that's something that he's not just been rebuked by members of the Arbery family and their representatives, but also by other members of the defense. We actually got a chance to speak with Jason Sheffield, who is the attorney for Travis McMichael in this case. He was reflecting on Kevin Goff's latest comments today, talking about concerns. He handed out pictures showing what he said was a perceived threat yesterday, this large gathering outside the courthouse of faith leaders offering their prayers and in support of the Arbery family. He called it an intimidation tactic, and again, motion for a mistrial, something that Judge Walmsley denied. But Jason Sheffield today, the defense attorney again for Travis McMichael, basically said that, look, we totally support the First Amendment rights and of these folks, and certainly want to respect and keep that intact. He defined it as sacrosanct.
And CK, right here on ABC News Live, you've been very good at breaking down this process we've been watching play out here, of this jury instructions, creating those, going through those motions as well. You know, why is it so important to get this right?
It's important to get this right because justice mandates it. This is a very important case. There's so many issues. So many different communities are watching what happens in this case. The jury instructions really literally make the difference between a victory or a loss. So for the prosecution, it's got to be right. For the defense, it's got to be right. Every word has to fall into place. It has to be, these jury instructions have to be in conformity with Georgia law. And it's very important to ensure for the integrity of the judicial process that it be done correctly and not in a ill-advised way as to create strong appealable issues.
As we see there from what happened inside, we know they were parsing over words like excessive force, and which is essential to the state's case, according to the lead prosecutor Linda Donikowski. We saw that the word revenge is out. What struck you from what you saw during that charging conference today?
Well, just in terms of I believe that the prosecution is a little bit upset because they didn't get everything that they wanted, and understandably so. But I do think that despite that the prosecution can prevail in meeting its burden beyond a reasonable doubt. So there can be convictions across the board, but it's going to be important for the prosecution, as I said before, and the defense to explain these critical jury instructions to the jury so that they know how they can render a verdict in their favor. Both sides have to do that. But again, I can see why the prosecution probably was a little bit upset.
And Alex Presha, before we leave you outside that Brunswick courthouse there, a big day ahead on Monday with those closing arguments.
That's right, Kenneth. We're expecting closing arguments to kick off Monday, which means that it is possible that this jury could be deliberating before Thanksgiving. They could render a verdict before Thanksgiving. Now, the timing, how that will come together, if it's something that they'll hold for after Thanksgiving, the judge hasn't quite yet weighed in on that. I will say that this afternoon, when we heard from defense attorney Jason Sheffield, he was asked about the timing of all of this, and he even said it was kind of up in the air, and that we'd see. I know a couple of the defense attorneys here have Thanksgiving planned, so we're not anticipating court to be in session then, but it is possible that that Friday or the following week could be in play here.
All right, Alex Presha, right there since day one outside that courthouse there in Brunswick, South Georgia. Alex, thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.